is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
Handoff, Elliott plowing to the goal line. Barry, sacked by Lawrence. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Heckma Harrison, Rob Phillips, and Kyle Yeomans.
In this business, it is kind of easy to lose track of just how much things can change in a week. Because if you go back to our last episode here on Talkin Cowboys, presented by Geico, we were completely at the crossroads. We were unsure of what was going on. We were trying to figure out exactly what the next step was going to be for the Dallas Cowboys organization. Well, now, as we enter this Monday, March 15th, we have an opportunity to say we know what crossroads had been chosen. We know who our franchise quarterback is, and it's Dak Prescott. Plus, North Texas men's basketball is going dancing in the NCAA tournament. So I'm going to throw that out there as well. Get that out of the way. So I'm pretty excited about both of those factors as well. We've got a lot to talk about here on Talkin Cowboys. Glad you're with us on DallasCowboys.com and the various streaming platforms. Kyle Yeomans, Rob Phillips, Isaiah Stanback in the crate. Heckma Harrison. And Rob, it's crazy. The deal got done last Monday, and every other show has gotten a chance to talk about it so far, but except for us. We were the ones that were early on Monday, and of course, the deal happened right after our show was concluded. So what are your overall thoughts on the deal as we kind of get a chance to finally dissect it on this specific podcast?
I said this last week, and I'll say it again. Everybody wins. The Cowboys win. They get the deal done. They get some precious cap space. Dak gets a massive contract, second highest contract basically in average per year in NFL history. The fans win. If you wanted Dak re-signed, you win. If you didn't want him re-signed, hey, you get something else to complain about. That'll be refreshing, right? That'll be refreshing.
Right.
And hey, we win. We win because we had something to talk about up until the start of free agency, which is basically today, and now it's done. It's a weight off everybody's shoulders, and I'm surprised it got done before the tag. I thought there was a chance based on rumblings before free agency, but I didn't think they would put it together 5 hours after we got off the air. And I think it just turned out to be the right time for everybody and really for the Cowboys to kind of segue into free agency, able to spread that money out and allow themselves to possibly be somewhat active in the coming weeks, if not this week.
Heckma?
Well, I only got one word for that, man, and it is relieved. Relieved when I saw the text from Isaiah saying that it was a done deal. Isaiah, we're etched in history together because you let us know that the deal was done. So, just really happy to see that we were able to get it done and not just muddy the waters with this thing any longer. But I tell you, man, that the press conference on Wednesday was the main attraction. Some of the cringe-worthy comments that came from the press conference. Jerry admitting that he's the only guy that he would let take advantage of him. Just things like that came out about the money and Dak digging in. And I really just, all jokes aside on that, man, I really love some of the things that Dak had to say. Pressure is a privilege, man. I had to write that down immediately because that was definitely a quote to keep. I love the way that he handled himself and just knowing that he dug in and wouldn't move on principle of what he wanted for his contract. And I think for the organization just gives us a sense of we're able to move forward. We can move forward now. All the rest of the proverbial dominoes can fall where they may because we got the biggest deal done, and just really happy that this doesn't have to linger any longer, and Jerry and Steven got it done.
Yeah,
Finally, it has happened to me. I'm glad everybody walked away winners, man. I'm glad everybody walked away winners. Obviously, there's a lot of guys in the league right now that are walking away winners, getting some of this money in their pocket right now, just because of the parameters of this season and the cap going down. So, super happy not only for everybody, but obviously super happy for Dak. He got his bread, like you guys already mentioned. He sunk his feet in there. He got what he was due. Right, he got what he was due, and unfortunately, it took external pressures and external other things that really apply pressure on the Cowboys, such as the cap and all those things that really added to this getting done. But whatever is required, it happened. Now we can roll, and now these guys got to figure out how to make some more room. Obviously, they're starting to do those things so they can go out there and get some of these free agents that they need to solidify this team.
Oh, Isaiah providing a perfect segue into what I really want to talk about next, and that's those external pressures. Exactly. Those external pressures kind of forcing this deal to get done. You talked about the salary cap. You also talked about how it needed to be the first domino to fall, because that was really what our conversations had been each of the last 2 weeks was we can't talk about free agency without Dak Prescott. We can't talk about it without that contract and seeing what kind of piece of the pie that the Cowboys would be allotting to their franchise quarterback. Well, now we know exactly how big that piece of the pie is. Still a pretty darn big piece of pie, but it's a little bit smaller than what they dealt with a year ago with the franchise tag. So, Rob, whenever the money comes in and you look at this deal and now you have an opportunity to start talking to teams, I mean, as of 37 minutes ago, as we're recording this, teams can agree to terms to a potential team. So now that you're looking at this money, Rob, what is the next step for the Cowboys in free agency, and where do they start looking? Because is this going to be a discount offseason, or do they have a little bit more to spend here?
That's a great question, because the salary cap is always it's always a bit of a moving target. We've seen projections all off season about how much space might they have. Well, number one, we didn't know the cap. We know the cap now. It's just a little over 185, and so, or I'm sorry, 182.5 is what it is. So by getting this Dak deal done, they're able to spread out the hit. So really, instead of what would have been $37.7 million on the franchise tag, it's going to be a little over 22. So you can look at it like they're basically saving $15 million on this year's tag, this year's cap. You factor in the three restructures they did last week. We talked about that the last few weeks. That's a possibility. Still could be a possibility. They could continue to do that if they want to. But with Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, Lyle Collins, that opens up more space. I think the projection is they're about $18.5 million under the cap right now. That's good. You have to be under the cap by Wednesday. I don't think it sounds like more to me than it really is, because you have to budget for your draft class. That could be upwards of $10 million, maybe a little less. Usually they like to keep a little bit of a break glass fund, set aside a few million in the cap for injuries that happen, things of that nature. So when you factor all that in, they're a handful of million under the cap. So to me, I would think they need to maybe do something else, whether it's more restructure or something if they want to be active. Beyond just going out in the market, guys, they've got 20-something plus free agents on their own roster. So I'm very curious to see what happens. I mean, certainly some of their guys, I'm sure they want to bring back. They're going to have to bring back some guys. And I'm just really curious now that the negotiating window has started today. What's going to happen? We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But how many guys are going to settle for one-year deals just because, hey, just bank on the cap going up next year, and instead of putting myself in a lower multi-year deal than I could normally get, just bank on myself and sign a one-year deal for less and go get it next year. So that might help the Cowboys ultimately beyond the first wave, because usually they're not in that first wave, and it's hard to see them doing that this year.
Heckma?
Yeah, that 182.5 is going to not only affect the Dallas Cowboys, it's going to affect a lot of teams. So there are 31 other teams that may not be able to keep guys that if the salary cap had been a regular football year without COVID, may have been able to get guys signed. So there may be a lot of talent here out on the free market in just a few, right? Yeah. So with all of the guys that we're looking to sign, one of the things that you have to ensure, Will McClay and his staff are really, closely looking at the fact that there is some talent in the free agent market. I know we're going to talk about that in a few, but there are a lot of guys that you probably wouldn't necessarily been able to get. You talk about the number that the Cowboys have of free agents, and that's a lot. And when you only have 18 million plus a draft to try and choose, kind of divvy up those funds, I'm really interested to see how they're going to dance around this. And it may be that they're looking at other players on other rosters to get that done with.
Yeah, no, I'm with you guys, man. But I think the reality is, I think Rob did a heck of a job really breaking down the financial positioning of the Cowboys. I mean, these guys, the reality is these guys got about $10 million to play with.
Yeah.
Just call it how it is. They got about $10 million
if
to play
that,
with.
yeah.
If that. How many guys can you get for that? You probably get 2, maybe 3 impact guys, not stars. Right. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's the reality. I mean, there's a lot of great players out there, obviously, that are skilled to play in this league. However, you can get you an impact player for about $5 million. A guy who's going to come in and have a real effect. A star, you're going to spend your whole little allowance on one person, right? So when we start talking about filling up these spots, and that's not even addressing the free agents, right? So there's really not much room. And like you guys already said, they have to make a lot of other moves if they plan on being active, if they even plan on filling out this roster.
So I just kind of want to play devil's advocate here. I love doing that on this show. But the cap has already shown that it can be easily manipulated. I mean, there are plenty of ways for you to either kick the can down the road like we did with Dak Prescott for 3 years, or you could figure out a way to restructure deals, which the Cowboys have already done with La'el Collins, Zach Martin, and Tyron Smith. Those 3 offensive linemen already having their contracts restructured have saved you $17 million. So is there not a way to continue doing that, Rob? I know you said that there was one more place, or a couple more things that they probably should do. I think Jalen Smith is on that list. I think there's maybe a DeMarcus Lawrence on that list that could maybe help you out contract-wise there if you wanted to restructure. But it is confusing from a money standpoint because it's easy to manipulate the cap, but it's not so easy to find that cap room for free agents to go and sign, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you're right. They can create more room. They can restructure Tank again. They could restructure Amari Cooper. Now, the thing with that is, if you were to move on at some point from Amari, that's been speculated, and I don't see that as much as maybe other people do, just because he had 93 catches or 92 catches last year, and he's your best receiver. But it's structured and very friendly as you move into future years. You restructure him, that's not the case anymore. And so that's what you constantly have to weigh with these restructures. But sure, they can open up millions of dollars of more room if they want to touch more deals like that. So it's possible, and I wouldn't rule that out. But I'm just saying right now, they're well under the cap. That's great, but they have a lot of work to do, and they don't have a ton of room when you really factor in everything they need to do in the coming months.
Rob, explain this to me. How does the rollover cap work from a Cowboy standpoint? Because you not only have that 182.5 as the pure salary cap, but the Cowboys have close to $27 million, actually a little bit over $27 million, that they have in rollover cap that from 2020 could be allocated. But what does that do specifically? Can you go through and explain exactly what that money is over what the cap already allocates?
That's confusing, and I think it has something to do with dead money. It's not. You see that number and you think, oh, they have all that room. Yeah. They don't. It's hard to explain, but it's what you're really looking at is what the actual cap number is, and what they're able to, where they are. And before the Dak deal, I think they were still over the cap when you factor everything in. So. That got them underneath. You mentioned the $17 million or so from the 3 restructures. So they're in a decent spot. You look around the league, and there's some teams that have a decent amount of cap space. I mean, there's some teams that can get out there and make some moves. So there's going to be, like Isaiah mentioned, there's some guys at the top of the market that are probably still going to get their money. But I'm just really curious to see how many guys who are quality players are like, man, this sucks. Maybe I'll just take a 1-year deal here or stay here on 1-year deal. And next year, when the TV money comes in, or just when things are better in the world, the cap goes back to where it is or where it should be, and guys can get what they're worth.
But I'm with Isaiah. I'm with Isaiah on the fact that, no matter what type of grocery shopping, whatever you got on that list, let's have guys on there that are our impact guys. Guys that if they sign a 1-year deal, we're not back to where we were last year looking at what the heck did we do in free agency and why is this guy able to back the Brinks truck up at the start and get paid to go. That's what we can't afford. And look, that's why the Dak deal was so important. And we kept hammering that home that, dude, if we don't get this done, we're pretty much where you talk about $18 million without the Dak deal and a franchise tag, we're less than that and unable to really get anybody signed. We know for sure defensive line wise, we're going to need to get some help. Maybe we go into the draft. That's the number one thing. But there are some other positions on this team, and I don't want to say a curse word like safety, but we're going to have to explore trying to get an effective guy that if he signs a 1-year deal, fine, but who is that guy? Because we're going to have to bargain shop for that guy. And the last time I checked, man, if you're shopping for guys on the bargain, you're really not going to get much because you get what you pay for.
See, but isn't that what this offseason is going to be? Because that's kind of the question I asked early on. You got the deal done, you restructured the offensive linemen, and you have a little bit of extra space to work with. That's great. That's all fine and dandy until you look at, oh, wait, I've got, like Rob said, 20 free agents on my own roster. You're going to have to bargain hunt. You're not going to be able to go be high spenders in this free agency class. You're not going to be able to go hand pick guys like Patrick Peterson and Jadeveon Clowney. Like, you're not going to be able to go get those guys because you just have to find a way to bargain hunt, but you just got to do it better than you did in 2020.
No, I agree. And you're going to have to do that. And regardless of it, like I said, Kyle, you get what you pay for in this league. And if you're going out and you're getting, older veterans, guys long in the tooth that are at the end of their playing days and expect for them to come to Dallas and rejuvenate their careers, we just got to get out of that and actually get guys that can be effective. And I just feel like that whole we're still in a pickle. We're in a pickle, but the thing about the pickle we're in, everybody else is in it too. So there are guys that teams are going to want to sign in because of the draft, because of the cap being where it is. They're not going to be able to sign them, and I think that's where the advantage may be for the Cowboys.
Well, Isaiah?
Yeah, and they're this is their comfort level. Sorry, just real quick, this is their comfort level. They don't like being top of market anyway. So usually they like to pick their spots, and I don't think they're going to have as much of a choice anyway this year. And when Steven was asked about it at Dak's press conference last week, he did reference the draft. They got 10 draft picks now with 4 compensatory picks, and it's hard to imagine all of them making the team, but that might be the best way they can add talent, But again, there may be some bargains out there. There may be guys willing to settle for less.
Yeah, there's always a chance, right, fellas? There's always somebody that's out there really willing to take a little bit less than the other. However, as Heckman mentioned, everybody in this league can play. It really comes down to if you do go out there and get some of these discount players, what is the coaching staff going to be able to do to bring that dog back out of them?
Yeah.
And I think that's the fact that's the thing that we're really overlooking right now. It's not always just about, okay, the player just comes in and is supposed to just ball out. Just because these guys are professionals doesn't mean that they don't need coaching, they don't need motivation, they don't need a mentor to really get the best out of them if possible. That's why there's professional coaches. So these guys, there's a ton of talent that is fully capable of playing in this league that really has untapped potential that these coaches are going to have to bring out of some of these guys. Maybe it's guys on this roster already, maybe it's guys outside of this roster. But either way, these coaches have their hands full in getting the most out of whoever they acquire.
Dan Quinn has his hands full.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he does.
Say his name.
Yes, he does.
Absolutely.
And there are potentials for Dan Quinn out there on the free agent market that could fit into his system. And really, I think this defense is one or two, and this is going to sound crazy, but just based off of the injuries last year and how bad they were last year, but the growth that you saw on the backside of the defense, you're one or two dogs away from being a decent defense. I'm not saying top of the league by any means. There's a that's a long way to go to the top of the league. But being a formidable defense is only 1 or 2 players away. And I think Dan Quinn allows you to do that. But now we get to see, are there any of those dogs out on the open market? When we come back on Talking Cowboys, we not only celebrate March Madness, but we give our Cinderella picks. Who are some of those dogs that the Cowboys would love to sign? We're done talking money. We're done talking Dak Prescott contract. It's how is this team going to get better when we return on Talking Cowboys presented by Geico.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
There's nothing as unique as our eyes, which is why Essilor pioneers ways to make lenses as unique as you. Verilux for super sharp vision, Essential Blue for protection, and Crizal for freedom from glare. 3 cutting-edge solutions in a single unique lens. So whatever your needs, insist on Essilor. Visit your local Essilor experts and find the perfect lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
We're back with a tasty treat that's sweeping airwaves and taste buds. It's new Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda. Let's take a listen.
Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda's here. A new combo that's music to my ears, okay. Let's play. Cream Soda and Dr. Pepper time. Pour it in a glass of ice.
Ah, music to my ears and mouth. New Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda.
A delicious duet.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Back here on Talking Cowboys, presented by Geico. And whether you're watching from home or you're cheering in the stands, with Essilor lenses, you can see every exciting play. Book an appointment at your local Essilor experts and see what Essilor can do for you. See more, do more, Essilor on Talking Cowboys. Isaiah Stanback, Rob Phillips, Heckma Harrison. I'm Kyle Yeomans, and well, it's we're getting close to our Essilor lenses, Heckma, and Heckma, with your Essilor lenses, you're going to be able to watch the North Texas Mean Green and NCAA tournament action. Rob and Isaiah, are y'all's teams going to be marching in the madness, or are you in the big dance this year, school wise? The Aggies are in it, right? Right?
I'm sorry, I don't have Bo's quiet comforts on. I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear because Washington's not.
Wow.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to throw that out there. Heckma and I are celebrating. That's all I have to say. Washington's a softball school, so that's what it is. Softball and sometimes football when Isaiah Stanback's playing. So.
Lord.
Let's
don't disrespect us. We are a crew school, okay? We do crew.
Okay. You dub?
Disrespect.
You dub all the way?
The crew.
Oh, man. I love it.
Speaking of UW, I had dinner last night with one of my receivers and one of my safeties from the University of Washington. I haven't seen those guys in 13 years.
Nice.
Saw
that on, was it your Instagram or your Twitter that you put that out on?
On my Instagram. I have to get better with Twitter, man. Twitter is like I'm just not on there that much. I know that's y'all's thing. I have to do better. I'm just I'm on and I'm gone.
I'm only on there because I have to be.
Yeah, Twitter's like it's conversation back and forth, and you guys know my schedule, so yeah, I'm working on it.
That's true. I love Twitter. I think Twitter's a lot of fun, and there's so many fun people out there. Now there's so many not so fun people out there on Twitter as well. So it kind of goes back and forth. But
comes with it.
That's the problem.
That's the point. You kind of have to balance the two of them. But let's see how the Cowboys are going to balance this offseason. And we, of course, with March Madness and North Texas dancing, they're an official partner of the Cowboys, so I can talk about them as much as I want on this show. That's fantastic. So I'm a proud North Texas alum, as you can probably tell, as I'm wearing the green today. But there's also March Madness and in not only basketball, but there's March Madness in terms of the free agency. So we're going to kind of merge the two of them between the Cowboys and the NFL offseason, and we're going to give winners, losers, and Cinderella picks out of free agency here on the show, and each one of us has a secret pick of all three of these. So we have not discussed this between the four of us. We've kept these quiet, and the winner is basically somebody you want the Cowboys to go sign or that you think the Cowboys will go sign. The loser is somebody from the Cowboys that you don't think is going to be on the Cowboys next year. And then Cinderella means throw the money out of the table or on the table. Let's go get this guy because this is my dream free agent signing. So I'm going to start things off, and I'm going to start with my loser, and it's Jordan Lewis. Xavier Woods. Jordan Lewis was my win at one point, but I switched it. So Xavier Woods is my loss at safety. 4th year, 5 career interceptions, and ultimately, I just don't think the money's going to be there enough for the Cowboys to bring him back, nor do they really want him back. I think they have better options out on the free agent market, one of which is my win. Keona Neal, former Atlanta safety who played for Dan Quinn, had a ton of injury issues in the last 3 years, except in 2020, where he played 14 out of the 16 games, and he actually showed a little bit of physical prowess toward the end of the season. I think he would be one of those guys that you could get on a bit of a discount because of the injury history. He's a former first-round pick, and he's played with Dan Quinn. He could fit that free safety spot right next to Donovan Wilson, so he is my win. My Cinderella, throw the money at him. How about Patrick Peterson out of Arizona? I think Patrick P. could be not only a good corner, but you could switch him over to safety if you really wanted to, because of course he's toward the end of his contract. Neal is only 26. Patrick Peterson's in his 30s at this point, or at least closing in on his 30s. I don't remember exactly what it was. So he is 31.
Yeah.
But I think Patrick P. is somebody the Cowboys could bring in as that veteran presence in the secondary that could help grow guys like Trayvon Diggs, Anthony Brown, and even Donovan Wilson back there. Communication-wise, I think it would be huge for Dan Quinn and that secondary. Thoughts on that one, Heckma? Neal is my win, Xavier Woods is my loss, and then Patrick P. is the Cinderella.
No, I like Neal. I don't want to say Keanu Reeves.
I know. I almost did the same thing a minute ago. I'm not going to lie.
The replacements.
So, I like him as well. And I think the familiarity with Quinn, I think, makes it a win for the Cowboys. And, again, you get him on the cheap. The ACL injury, hopefully he's back from that. But he's a guy that when he was recruited, he was drafted in Atlanta, they had the similarities between him and the free safeties and strong safeties in Seattle.
Yeah.
Never lived up to that, especially with the injury. So he's a guy, I mean, we talked about him weeks ago, being the familiarity, may be someone that you get. And also, I love what you said about Pat P. I think, I've been saying this for a while, man, that we have to get someone with that veteran leadership that's going to get us over the hump. So I like.
So I want to there was a Twitter comment or a Periscope comment. We just talked about Periscope and Twitter a second ago. But he said, Pat Pete is not coming here with extra exclamation points and then the shrugging emojis. That's the point. That's why it's a Cinderella. Because if I thought he was going to come here.
This is like.
What was that, Rob?
Yeah. This is like Cleveland State making the Final Four.
Yeah.
This is just like, this is like banking on a 13 seed to get in. We're just having fun.
This is Loyola Chicago making a run. That's what we're talking about with Cinderellas here. So dream big is what I'm saying, and that's why Patrick Peterson is my. I think Neal is more likely. I don't think Patrick P is likely at all, and that's why I put him as my Cinderella. Rob, what are your 3 picks?
Okay, so I'll do what you did, Kyle. Start with my loss. I'll go with Cheeto as the loss in free agency. We've talked about this a little bit. Former second-round pick. His pure skill level, even though he's had some injuries and has struggled at times, I think there's a chance he's got a deal out there that the Cowboys wouldn't be able to match. Or, we talked about their cap situation. So I'll go there as a potential replacement. And again, like we talk about in free agency, trying to cover yourself for the draft too. When I saw Casey Hayward get released by the Chargers, that perked my ears up a little bit over the weekend. he's 31, about to be 32, was a Pro Bowler a few years ago. I get that. But he did play for Mike McCarthy, did play for Joe Witt. So that one's interesting. And actually the cornerback market is a little bit more robust than maybe we thought, because there's been a lot of guys getting released. Maybe there's not as much money to go around for all of them. That could be Cheeto included. But that one kind of stood out to me. Wouldn't keep you from drafting a cornerback high, if the value was there for you in the draft. Okay, Cinderella.
Yes.
In no way do I think this is going to happen, but this is where I'm thinking. I have to stick with what I've said is the biggest need on this defense, and to me, it's a big, strong, disruptive nose tackle. Give me Dalvin Tomlinson, okay? The highest rated D tackle on the market. He'll probably go back to the Giants. If he doesn't, he's going to get a deal the Cowboys wouldn't be able to get involved in. I'm very confident of that. But that's where I'm thinking, whether it's free agency or the draft. I don't know how great a draft it is, Kyle, at that position.
It's not great.
Maybe they bring back Antoine. Yeah, it's not great. Maybe, I would expect them to bring back Antoine Woods or try in restricted free agency. They like their young tackles there, but I would continue looking to try to get some help there.
In the 7th round mock draft that I put in, or I submitted to the draft magazine this morning, I actually had the Cowboys taking a defensive tackle in the 3rd round. So I think that's such a need for this organization and for that defense, especially for Dan Quinn, to maybe try and help fix these linebackers a little bit. It's huge. I think that's a huge piece. But like you said, man, that would be a lot for Tomlinson. Like as the number one defensive tackle, that's going to be a hefty Cinderella move, no doubt about it. But I don't think it's out of the question, though.
Oh, it's out of the question.
You think so?
It's pie in the sky. But hey, we're just having fun.
I like it. Heckma, what are your 3?
Nah, man, get Isaiah in here, man.
Nope. I just called on you. I just called on you, and you get to go first.
Damn.
You go first, because we're saving Isaiah for last. We got Isaiah for last.
I know he got some.
I ain't talking. I like your jokes. I think you're talking.
Your graphics up, Heckma. Go ahead and give your 3.
Look. All right, so first of all, Chris Beam said that we could, it was all a secret and we wouldn't be able to pick the same guy, but then Rob goes before me and he takes my guy. So thanks, Rob, because I had Cheeto.
I always do that to you, man. Always.
So I like how the rules change as we go, but it's all good. So I do have Cheeto as my guy that I think is the odd man out. But there's Aldon Smith, I'm also looking at him as well, man, because I think the rest of the league has seen the production that he's had, and I think he just may receive an offer that we can't match because of his production in those earlier games. But when I look around in free agency for guys, Malcolm Butler is my guy that I would like to bring in. The reason being is because he's a proven commodity. Last year with Tennessee, he had 5 interceptions. I think that, first of all, there's going to have to be some type of senior leadership in the back end of our defense, and I think that's what we've lacked. I think we've talked about bringing in an Earl Thomas, and all of that went away. Don't do it, Isaiah. But when you talk about Malcolm Butler, he's a proven commodity. He's a guy that has championship pedigree, and I think if we bring him in, he'll fit nicely into that cornerback meeting room. Now, my Cinderella is actually going to turn the draft show's carriage into a pumpkin.
Yes.
Because you are going to have to give up the farm for this guy. But my Cinderella pick is Justin Simmons from Denver. Look, guys, there isn't a free agent in their free safety right now that can match this guy's ball skills. And that's what we need. The term ball hawk is used so loosely, but when you turn on the tape, he is closing on everything. I mean, great tackler, great teammate, but man, just his ball abilities. I think single high safety, you trust him back there. He's just, in Denver's defense right now, he does it all. But again, you would have to give up 2 firsts. And so, again, I'm wrecking the draft show by going Justin
That's
Simmons.
okay.
Wrecking next year's draft show, too.
Yeah, you're probably going to have to take both of them out of there. 16 career interceptions, closing in on 370 tackles in just 5 seasons. You talk about ball hawk, and that's what Justin Simmons brings to the table. I thought for a second there that Denver tagged Justin Simmons. I'm gonna have to look that up. They did tag him. So you're talking about trading for this guy. This isn't March Madness in terms of free agent. You're wanting to actually. That's why you're giving up the farm. Okay, I get it now. I'm caught up. All right, Heckma Harris, or excuse me, Isaiah Stanback. We have put you last for good reason because you came in guns a-blazing to our WebEx Zoom call thing that we have as saying that you were going to throw out the craziest name in terms of Cinderella. If it's Tom Brady, I'm going to give you so much. Okay, well, give me your list. Who are your three guys in March Madness?
Killing me. Come on.
It's nothing. I mean, it's nothing crazy.
It's probably pretty crazy.
Cinderella for me is very attainable. You know, I was like the guy who saw like the very pretty girl and was like, you know what? She's probably out of my league, but I still have a chance. So you're saying there's a chance, right? So when we talk about losses, I think that our loss wise, I think that we are going to lose. And of course, I just freaking blank out. God, Lee.
Oh, you got it.
Alden Smith.
Nah, there you
go. Alden Smith. I think we're going to lose Alden Smith. So I think Alden Smith is gone. And I think at the safety position for a win for us, it's Keona Neal. I think we can definitely go out there and grab him. However, I feel pretty doggone good about our strong safety position, the little young gun we got out there, Wilson. So if we can't get Keona Neal, then I think we can go out there and get Ricardo Allen. So if we get
I like him.
I think we go grab Allen. So depending on how those guys feel about their secondary, you get one of those two guys because he's experienced. They're experienced and they understand the system. Now, as we talk about Cinderella, I'm going out there and getting my dog KJ Wright out of Seattle. KJ Wright out of Seattle. Reason being, KJ is a dog, not D-O-G. He's a D-A-W-G, right? So that's how I spell dog around here. And he is a guy who was a great player. He's a great teammate, a great citizen, right? And he understands this program. He understands the system that Quinn is coming in with. I think that we're definitely going to be running a lot more 4-3. So I think that if you had him out there at linebacker and you had the Wolf on Wall Street and you had doggone Mr. Shades himself, Stunner Shades, I think that both the trio at that second level would be absolutely amazing. Now, yes, you guys are going to say we still have holes to fill on the D-line. Of course. We got holes everywhere. However, if you had that three-headed monster at linebacker, I think we all can feel pretty doggone good about our second level and about our box, regardless of who they throw in there.
So looking at his market value right now, his market value is 2 years, closing in on $15 million. So about 7.5 a year is probably what you would be allotting to KJ Wright. I don't think that's necessarily out of the question, especially if you see a need at linebacker arise with maybe Sean Lee's retirement or whatever ends up happening with him. If you bring back a guy like, let's say, a Justin Thomas, and you have KJ Wright in there as that rotation with those four guys, I'd feel a lot better about that than I did in 2020 about that position, no doubt about it. And I don't think $7.5 million to him is necessarily out of the question. Now, like we said earlier, there's going to have to be some restructuring. There's going to have to be some kind of change in terms of the money in order to get to that point. But even though that's a Cinderella, I think that's a pretty good little underdog Cinderella story that might make a run to the Final Four there, Isaiah.
I told you, Cinderella is the girl that you can still get. You just got to shoot your shot.
You got to shoot your shot. Hey, you better tell Kyle to shoot his shot, boy.
Talking about March Madness, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Don't take.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but I like KJ Wright, and you can't understate his value to the Seattle organization, man. That would be big time for them to lose him. I mean, he's been a stud in that organization for a very, very long time. So, look, KJ Wright, that's one I really like that. And then also your winner, I think that's obtainable also.
So out of the...
Yeah, that's a more realistic one.
Go for it, Rob.
No, I'm just saying that's a more realistic trio than probably what we had. That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's kind of what my thought process was, and my next question was going to say, out of the four lists that we had, which one did you like the best, and which one would fix the Cowboys quicker is my thought process. And I'm not necessarily talking about the Cinderellas, but I mean we've thrown Neal's name out there a couple of times because of his familiarity with Dan Quinn, the potential of getting him on a bit of a discount because of the injury history, but also not to mention a high ceiling as a former first-round pick and somebody that, of course, was drafted to Atlanta because of his similarities to what Seattle had when Dan Quinn was there. So out of the guys here that we've mentioned, which one do you feel like is the most realistic? Is it Neal, or is it more realistic to see one of those guys leave the Cowboys like a Chido Awuzie and Xavier Woods or an Aldon Smith?
I think all of those things are likely. Everything that you just said is likely, simply because by sheer numbers and cap hit, we may not be able to keep Cheeto. And there, again, other teams may covet his ability and not give us an opportunity to be able to re-sign. But I like the cornerback from San Diego. What was his last name?
Hayward. Casey Hayward.
Oh, yeah, Casey Hayward.
Casey Hayward.
Yeah.
Man, he's a guy that I've liked for a very long time. And I think realistically, even based off of his age and all of that, he's somebody that, realistically we could get, that wouldn't be expensive at all, that may be more apt to sign a one-year deal versus some of these other guys that we've mentioned.
So we got through.
Yeah, and it would have to be a situation where he's, number one, the Cowboys feel like he still play at a high level. Two, maybe he would want to go somewhere familiar where I've played for this coach and it seems like a good fit. I think it seems like it could be a possibility. But again, it's just everything's going to come down to money. And again, you can structure deals in a certain way to make it fit under the cap. You can do that too. But I'm very curious to see how it works.
It'll be interesting because the cap is manipulated enough to at least give you a chance, but how much of a chance are you going to get if you start bringing in some of these big-name free agents? So that leads us to the question of what does the draft bring for this offseason? I want to check in with you guys. It's been a little bit since we talked about the draft. I want to see where you guys lie in terms of draft strategy. When we come back on the other side of the break, we've talked a lot about the secondary. Is offensive tackle a potential in terms of the NFL draft? We'll mention it when we come back here on Talkin Cowboys, presented by Geico.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. When there's work to be done, a real workhorse can make all the difference. Like the Range Boss package. Our 5075E John Deere 75 horsepower tractor features a bell spear and loader and starts at $369 per month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay. No surprises. It works like a horse, so you don't have to.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now, let's get to work.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit AT&T.com for details.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Since 1865, Stetson hats are American-made with pride right here in Texas. And Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Want to show your Texas and team pride too? You can. By purchasing your own Stetson, you can look just like how the flag guys do on field at every home game. Stetson hats, the official crown of all self-respecting Cowboys and your favorite football team.
Get yours today at shop.dallascowboys.com or at stetson.com.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
Back here on Talkin Cowboys, presented by Geico. Glad you're with us here on this Monday. And whether you're listening to Talkin Cowboys or listening to Mix Shots later in the week, you can experience audio at a whole new level with Bose Quiet Comfort earbuds. Bose Quiet Comfort earbuds, the official earbuds of your Dallas Cowboys. Heckma, what does it sound like in there?
It's like a symphony in my head, Kyle.
Oh, yes. That was way better than last week.
You got it.
Yes.
I'm back. Good.
Goodness gracious.
I'm glad you guys like it.
Yeah, no, that was really good. What was the rating there, Isaiah? What was the rating?
That was 9.5.
9.5.
Ooh, on the Richter scale. I love
9.5.
9.5.
Rob?
Oh, man, that's awesome. We back in the building.
I'll give it a 10.
Okay.
10.
Put your cards up. 10s all around.
I'll give you an 8.5. I could still see a little bit more from you, but that's because I like pushing you to be a better human being. I just want you to be better, Heckma, every single day. We're going to get better here on Talkin Cowboys. All right.
You never fail, Kyle. You never let me down.
I don't. Let's look at draft, because the next couple big offseason dates, of course, today being a big offseason dates where teams can officially start negotiating with these free agents and actually agreeing to terms, whereas the league year starts on Wednesday at, 3 p.m. Eastern time, or 3 p.m. Central time, 4 p.m. Eastern, Rob? Is that whenever the league year starts and it's officially new year in the NFL?
Yeah, and hey, one quick free agency update as we get going. Report from ESPN that Cam Irving, swing tackle when healthy, is going to sign with the Panthers. 2 years and $10 million.
So that didn't take
So
long.
that's an example, right? That's an example. Like, Cowboys had Irving under contract, for like $2.5 million to be the backup tackle last year. I don't know if you can have that luxury this year.
Come on, Cam.
Hey, $5 million.
What happened to Cam?
Wait, good job getting your money.
He went got that money. He got that money.
He played
eight guaranteed.
Played a total of what? 3 games total with the Cowboys last year?
I think he missed 10 games last year.
Okay. Yeah, I think he started 3 or whatever it ended up being. But there's a luxury like you talked about.
Awesome.
No, that's great for him. I think you need to look at tackle in the draft, and I'm still going to die on that hill. But I want to go through these offseason dates real quickly. So the new league year starts on Wednesday, and then a couple weeks after that on April 5th. That's the start of the offseason for new head coaches. The 19th is the start of workouts for everyone. So the NFL workouts will get started on April 19th. Last day of restricted free agent signings is on the 23rd, and then the last day to match those restricted free agent signings is the 28th of April, the day before the 2021 NFL draft. So let's talk about that NFL draft. And like I said, going into the last break, it's been a while since I've checked in on you guys, but I want to see, we talked a lot about the secondary there. There was no offensive line talk, really no offensive talk around around any of our March Madness picks. But whenever you look at this draft, Heckma, where are your priorities lying? Is it still with going corner early on and drafting heavy defense throughout the entirety of the draft? Do you want to sell high on offense early and maybe pick up some of those defensive guys in the next couple of rounds? Where are you thinking whenever it comes to the Cowboys in April 29th?
I think, obviously when you talk about the defense, it was abysmal. And if you're not looking at getting better on defense, then you're lying to yourself. But if there's I can't deny this guy at 10 staring you in the face, then you got to get him too. And I won't bore you with any particulars, but I will say this, that I do feel as though defense has to be the priority no matter what. And so there have been a number of guys that's been thrown around, whether it be the guy from the defensive lineman from Alabama. A lot of people don't feel like Barmar should go at 10, but it just depends on where we covet these players and how they fit into the system. They're doing the interview process, they're doing pro days and all of that right now, but definitely cornerback. And we've talked about Sertan, the cornerback from Virginia Tech.
That's Alabama.
Horn has a kid from South Carolina that's also, excuse me?
Oh, so Sertan, Alabama, Farley, Virginia Tech, Horn, South Carolina. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, so that's Joe Horn, Joe Horn's son. Also, so we got a few guys that come from that pro pedigree. So either way, man, I just feel like you got to go there first off with the number 10 pick.
So you're still sticking with corner. Rob, I know you're Mr. BPA here. Is there any opportunity to see Kyle Pitts or Rashawn Slater? Or are you against that, or are you sticking with defense here?
Don't do it.
I can't. Heck, this is for you. I can't do that. I can't do that unless it's CeeDee Lamb style, like best player on my board at a tackle or tight end, and I just can't refuse it.
Kyle Pitts is probably going to be the best player on your board. I will say that.
Is he really going to be there at 10, honestly?
Yes.
Like, probably not.
I think he will be.
I don't. Well, I think if you want to be better this year and you just signed your quarterback to this mega deal, you might want to get better at defense and try to do something to help your defense. And look, I saw Peter King say, hey, this might be a situation where the top 8 picks in the draft are all offense. Well, then you put yourself in a position to draft the best defensive player in the draft potentially. I like that idea. I mean, right. I see the other side of it. Like, well, maybe you just need your offense to put up 40 a game next year. So
don't say that, please.
40 burger offense is back.
40 burger offense, and so okay, and in that scenario, maybe the Pitts pick makes sense, but. I just have a hard time rationalizing that. You look at the roster and say maybe there's 2 or 3 positions where you're just like it's not a need. Tight end's one of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Tackle you can talk me into more so than that.
Isaiah, where are you at?
Yeah, I agree with you guys, man. I mean, I think we have to address defense. I think if we're in a position to get one of these top 3 corners, and you go grab one of these top 3 corners and you develop them. If you don't have have opportunity to grab one of those guys, then you need to grab yourself a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman. I think that our tackles probably have another couple of years left in them. So if you're not planning for their replacement, then you're planning to fail. So I think Dak's current contract he'll be playing longer underneath this new contract than your offensive tackles will be playing in this league. So I think that you need to go out there, and if you're in a position to grab those guys, Smith's replacement right now.
Yes. I have a question for you. Go ahead, Heck. Sorry.
I just want to say that you're right, and I think as far as the top, top 32 guys, that's something to be talked about, but also it's really going to be important rounds 2 through 5. There's so much talent in there, and because guys opted out and you didn't get a chance to see them play in 2020, that's where I think there's really going to be a challenge for a lot of scouting departments, because there's so much talent in there with guys that didn't play last year.
That's a great point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Kyle, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
About offensive tackle. At what point do you think it just tops out this year in terms of talent? Because it seems like there's a lot of guys in this class that are good enough to be picked in the top 2 rounds.
Yeah.
But can you wait past that and still get a future starter potentially?
I would probably say midway through the 3rd. So probably top 75 players. So the Cowboys have 3 picks in the top 75. I think you could probably get a starting caliber offensive tackle. And by starting caliber, I mean can be a starter in the next 2 or 3 years. Because Penei Sewell, Rashawn Slater, Christian Darrisaw, all 3 are starters right now. They'll be the best linemen on a lot of rosters right now. And I'm not saying maybe the Cowboys roster, because you have Zach Martin, you have Lyle Collins, hopefully healthy with him and Tyron Smith. I would put those 3 guys up against any other offensive line in the country with Darrisaw, Slater, and Sewell. But after that, then you have kind of a jumble of players like a Dylan Redunz, an Alex Leatherwood. Redunz out of North Dakota State. Alex Leatherwood's out of Alabama. Leon Eichenberg from Notre Dame. Spencer Brown, Northern Iowa. Yeah. Jalen Mayfield from Michigan. There are guys there that you could potentially draft. Walker Little, who was an opt-out out of Stanford, who's just unbelievably talented from a physical standpoint. He's built like a fridge, but he's had some off-the-field issues. He's a 2020 opt-out. Maybe he falls a little bit, and you can maybe snag him. I think he's certainly a starting caliber offensive tackle. But my biggest thing here is with those 3 guys up at the top that I mentioned that are starters right now, I think you sell high on those guys, kind of like what Isaiah is saying, is pick a premium position at a premium spot. And that's what number 10 is. That's a premium spot. Go pick a position that's going to invest in keeping Dak Prescott on his feet and upright, whereas the offensive line was the biggest storyline in 2020 outside of the Dak injury because nobody could stay upright. Andy Dalton was running for his life. We saw what happened when Ben DiNucci came in. Garrett Gilbert came in as well because guess what? You had to use 4 different quarterbacks because your offensive line couldn't keep anybody upright. So I think you invest heavily at offensive tackle, and then you address the cornerback, the secondary, maybe even the defensive line in rounds 2 through 5, like Heck was talking about, because I think there's just more guys there that can be starters at this moment than there are as offensive tackles in those middle rounds.
I don't disagree. The only thing I would say, though, I guess I do disagree a little bit in that let's say you're not even let's say you're not confident in Knight and Steele to take over for Cam.
I'm not.
Okay. Maybe. Well, okay. If you're not, and your best option anyway might be to do what you finally got around to doing last year, and that's if there's a problem at tackle, Zach Martin's your right tackle or your left tackle, and use your better depth inside to fill in that second spot at right guard. That's what I would do. Connor Williams can also play tackle in a pinch. I'm confident of that. The other thing, too, and maybe the Cowboys just had to do this because they had to create space, the fact that they were willing to touch Lyell's contract and Tyron's contract and push more money into future years with those restructures, it does tell me, and we kind of heard this too, that they're doing well in their rehab. So, I mean, I'm just thinking, like Isaiah said, many years down the road, long term, you may have to start looking. But for this year, that tells me they think they're going to be fine for 2021. And if I'm trying to win now, that's why I'm thinking defense first.
Yeah,
but I mean that's right. That's right now, right? So
right.
We know what's behind them or what's not behind them.
Not behind them, right?
I mean, no disrespect. So I mean, if you have an opportunity, so I'm with you, Rob. We need to get a D lineman, yes. However, if there's an amazing tackle, to Kyle's point, if there's an amazing tackle, grab them because there's not that many of them.
Yeah.
Right? That's probably the hardest. Quarterback and offensive tackle are probably the 2 hardest positions to be right on.
Agreed.
That's fair.
It's just that's just in the entire league. Those are the 2 hardest positions to make sure that you have, and that's the reason why those guys get paid the most. Right? You can find a edge rusher, you can find good linebackers, you can find DBs, find receivers, running backs, all that. When it comes down to quarterbacks, we see what's going on there. And offensive tackles, they play forever, and they still demand high dollar because you can't just teach that. So you need to grab it if it's there because these guys are. I mean, how much? Tyrod. I mean, how many more years you guys think he's going to play? 2?
He's a young 30. He may be able to play 2 or 3. Yeah,
2 more.
They're hoping it's more than that because now if he doesn't, then the dead money on his contract is going to be insane.
Yeah, it'll be legit.
Yes. Can he play more? Probably. Will he play more? I don't think so. I think that boy's going to play 2 more years and shut it down. So, but you need to have his replacement ready.
Shut it down, big man.
I love what you said, Isaiah, and I think that's right. And obviously, we all hope that Tyron Smith is healthy for the 2021 season. But we've learned that hope is not a strategy when it comes down to the health of our tackles.
Yep.
And we have to find a way to shore up the swing tackle position. And that's why if a guy like Slater presents himself at 10, and I cringe because I knew he struggles over this shoulder right here. That's why I'm like, look, man, we may have to do that because Slater is a guy that not only can he play the left tackle position, if that, again, health-wise becomes available, he's also a guy that you can slide into a guard position as a starter. So it's just what it is. You have to look at that. And again, planning to succeed and not to fail, still had to learn on the job. He may be better this year because of what he had to go through and what OTAs may do for him as well. But I think the same things that we're facing, talking about free agency, there are going to be a lot of swing tackles out there on the market. So we lost Cam Irvin, but there are a few other guys out there that may present themselves in the next coming weeks that we can sign and get a good deal on them.
I'm not worried about picking up a backup swing tackle. I'm not really worried about that. I'm worried about replacing the offensive line that you've invested already so heavily in to protect the investments that you have invested so heavily in on offense, including your quarterback, your running back, and 3 different wide receivers.
And your running back.
And so I'm just saying there are so many investments on that side of the football that if you put a below average, and by below average I mean one of the league worst offensive lines back out there in 2021, if the health doesn't stand up, because like Isaiah said, hope is not the right kind of answer whenever it comes to the offensive line. We saw that a year ago. I'm worried about that. And instead, I would rather have a super offensive line. I would rather have Tyron Smith than with Rashawn Slater, than with Tyler Biadasz, Zach Martin, and Lyle Collins, and said, stop us, defensive East. Come at us, Chase Young. Let's figure it out.
Good.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Hoping that Dan Quinn's going to come in because he's Dan Quinn and fix everything without some influx of talent. I don't think that's a strategy either.
No,
but it's a great argument.
Yeah, but we have holes everywhere, though, right?
Right.
We have holes everywhere. So absolutely, I think we're all on the same accord when we say that we need to get a defensive lineman. I think we're all in consensus there. However, I think the bigger story here is that, like I said, you can't pass on a sure thing at tackle.
Yep.
You just can't. You can't do it, especially when you're investing into your quarterback like this, right? Your job is now to protect him. Why do you think that freaking Russell Wilson is thinking about trying to get up out of Seattle? Because they haven't invested into protecting him, right? It's the reality. When they were investing money into protecting him, they were going to the Super Bowl year after year, right? Back to back. When they had the most salary-heavy offensive line in the league, right? They allocated the most funds towards offensive line, and guess what? It resulted in them going back-to-back Super Bowls. Then they got cocky, and they said, we can do it through free agency, right? We don't have to draft anybody. We don't have to develop anybody. And now look what's happening. Right now they're on the
Isaiah, that's enough of talking about your other boys.
I'm just talking about this example.
Oh, man.
All right.
Isaiah, where are you on Pitts, though? What if it's a tight end at 10?
No.
Okay, because you can talk me more so into a tackle than tight end.
Yeah.
No. I know how great Pitts is as a prospect. I know it, but no.
I've said this before about Kyle Pitts. Even if you can guarantee that he's a Hall of Famer, you have had a Hall of Fame tight end on your roster for the past, decade with Jason Witten.
And it didn't get you no rings.
You don't have any rings. Exactly. So I love Kyle Pitts, too. I think he could be a game changer. But in terms of need, you can get along with Blake Jarwin and Dalton Schultz just fine. We've already figured that out. So I'm not worried about tight end moving into the future. As much as I am about tackle and protecting the investments, I would rather protect offensive tackle and the offensive line rather than that. Plus, and Rob said this. I know we're going over time, Chris. I feel your angst in the other room, but. Whenever Rob said you just relying on Dan Quinn to fix this defense without an influx of talent, I don't necessarily think you're not having an influx of talent, because there's those guys in the second, third, and fourth rounds that you could go and draft, and that could be starters. You got Trayvon Diggs last year at 51. You're picking at 44 this year. You're going to get another guy like that. And I know that's a lot to say, because 44, a lot of things can go wrong. I fully believe you can find the right guy at 44, whether it's Elijah Molden or Richie Grant, some of these different guys that are going to be in the secondary that'll complement Trayvon Diggs extremely well, or Donovan Wilson. I'm just saying, I think there are guys you can go get, and you can go draft an offensive tackle in the first, and it would be just fine. But that's going to do it for us here on Talkin Cowboys, presented by Geico. Continue this conversation with us. If you're interested in continuing this conversation, defense versus offensive tackle in the first round, tweet at us. Get at us on Twitter, because Rob Phillips 3 on Twitter is always happy to answer questions. We got Heckma_Harrison. I am Standback on Twitter, and then I'm at Kyle_Yeomans. But for Chris Beam,
hit Isaiah.
Oh, yeah. Hit up Isaiah for draft questions. Let's get him on Twitter a little bit more. But for Chris Beam in the back and these 4 jokesters, I'm Kyle Yeomans. We'll see you next week here on Talkin Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!